You're good.
We're gonna let you juggle that on your own.
You don't know what you're wishing. So I put together the budget. I mean, obviously the start point is last year's operating results with using December 18's information. You should have a page that says assumptions. So just walk through those real quick. The budget's prepared on an operating cash flow basis, so we take out the dam assessment income and the dam loan interest because those aren't operating cash. We take 50% of the new member fee was removed in the income statement because only the club portion is being budgeted because that's all we can spend. Board committee income and related expense were removed as their restricted funds. Amenities expense are also removed as this portion of the expense is paid for with the restricted new member fees. Depreciation expenses excluded as it's non-cash expense. And restaurant, clubhouse, gratuity income and expense are left out of the budget. It's not wash, it's just wash.
Yeah.
So there's no sense point showing it out. Our assessment increase based on the CPI was about 1.5%. That produced about $24,000 additional income for the club. I started with a base payroll and payroll tax increase of 3%. That's obviously, we get worked on here as we.
That's probably going to be pretty close.
Yeah, that number just alone costs $38,000 between payroll expenses and payroll taxes. New member fees now $45.05, which gets budgeted throughout. We'll talk about the number of new members here in a minute. I try to be fairly conservative on our new members. You'll see the numbers down below. We do not budget miscellaneous settlements. Miscellaneous settlements are, we get a large settlement out of a recovery for an old debt, assessment debt, essentially. Those kind of come here or there. New members, 2019, we're trending about, or 2018, we were at 49, 2019, those numbers should be updated. 2019, we were going to be about 49, 2020, I budgeted 20 or 40. And that's just being a little bit conservative, knowing there could be a downturn in the market, so we don't get caught too short. But I was a little more aggressive than we did on the last year's budget. So it's always an area of risk because houses don't sell. We don't get that budget.
Yeah.
Remove $50,000 out of the subcontractor expense from October. That was related to the lake spillway pipe repairs that won't reoccur. And then we'll remove the audit fee because we won't have that in 2020. We also need to look at subcontractors because we had about 110,000 in October related to related to the moto pay. We talked about taking approximately $100,000, moving it to June and subcontracting out some chip and seal, and then using the remaining 75,000 or so of road assessment for our guys to do asphalt repairs, culvert repairs, and new guardrail post. So we'll have to kind of figure out where all that's going to go, in the budget. But it's just a shift, a little bit of a shift. We'll probably just shift some of that
From the moto
June to moto pay, shift it earlier in the year to do some third party chip and seal, and then how the remainder flows through with our maintenance team doing the work. So, Jim, you've had this today. You were looking at wages and, well, how they're going to flow through without getting into specifics.
Right. The 3% is even though quite a bit of it, part of it, I should say, already happened in 19, what would be considered merit increases in 2020, maintenance and security were taken, that was handled early summer.
Mid-year.
Yeah, mid-year.
Yeah.
So that's already in there. But anybody in the restaurants that's at minimum gets a bump January 1st. I think it goes to 870 or something like that. It's going up some. And we still have a few people that we need to look at, you know, their annual. So if you take it, if you got that first 6 months of 19 that there was no increases, and all those things together, the 3% is probably close. Yeah. I wouldn't want to say we can reduce it, let's put it that way.
Also, we need to consider the lifeguards this year. We don't want to forget about them. We had such a hard time getting lifeguards last year.
We upped it quite a bit.
Well, we didn't up the base pay, we just gave them the start-on bonus, we paid for their certification.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to keep that in mind.
Okay. Well,
The one number, I mean, that payroll number is the one number you're gonna have to kind of do some detailed work as far as people, you know, we don't share it.
right.
Let me know what that, you think $1 million, because that's $1,053,000 of our spend. So it's a pretty good sized chunk of our budget.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic that $8,000 increase in payroll taxes, which is where our health insurance rolls through, is going to be enough, but I don't know. We had 19 was a difficult year in that aspect. We kept trending higher, so I don't know. The other thing you should have is kind of a comparison to where our forecast, I think will end up compared to our actual 2020 budget, like on a consolidated basis. If you flip it over, second page, we're trending to make about $12,000 before we fund any on a cash flow basis, and I've got a budget of about 30. The problem is that doesn't fund our capital and depreciation, so we're gonna have to sharpen our pencils a little bit up to get that. Ideally, you want that $30,000 to be about 210, so that way you fund all your capital and depreciation for the year. So that's, but
And plus.
yeah, a positive 210 plus the 30. Yeah.
So the,
Well, you take 180 plus 30. That's
Right.
About 210. That's about your break even.
okay, so we're charged with that net operating cash flow after funding to be a break even?
That's the one. That's where you want the zero, because that means you've covered all your expenses plus you funded your depreciation and capital funds adequately.
Okay.
That's what you're trying to get to. It's break even on that bottom number.
Okay.
So 2019 we're not getting there, and we can see it when we look at our red sheet. So we've got to make some changes to get there. So I left the lodge and the clubhouse operations pretty much even as what they were this year. Just because
Well, I took, on that annual comparison, I added a column and put 2018 actual down through there so that I could see, and that the restaurant income is going to be down from 2018 to 2019, almost $90,000. And I'm not gonna sit here and go blue sky and with rose-colored glasses say that we're gonna get back to 2018, but we're not going to be at 2019 level in 2020 either. So that number will be adjusted, thanks to a lot of effort being put into events and all that kind of stuff.
What'd you have for, 'cause last year for the budget, it was using about 370 for 18's forecast.
They ended up with 363,958, so.
That's pretty close, yeah.
6,000 on.
We're looking at 278 this year,
Yeah.
so we lost, $90,000 you said? Yeah. So, I mean, I kept that flat, but I mean, I'd love to see it go the other way. Just need to convince how we're gonna get there.